Hello and welcome. What's up, everybody? Today we're gonna do 5 things that I hate about my Skeeter. A few days ago we did the 5 things that I love about my Skeeter 2010 ZX190 dual console bass boat, and I promised you guys a 5 things I hate video, and here it is. I want to preface this video by saying that I don't really even like using the word hate, and I'm nitpicking here just so that we could get this list knocked out and do the converse side of the 5 things we love video. In reality, this is a list of things that I strongly dislike or things that I wish were different about the boat. No hate, it's all love. You guys know I love my boat, Beetlejuice. We covered that plenty here recently on the channel. My 2010 Skeeter ZX190 has been an amazing platform for me to learn how to bass fish from a bass boat, and it has been an excellent vessel for me over these past 2 years. Extremely grateful, humbled, and blessed to have been able to enjoy this boat, and we've built an awesome library of bass fishing content from out there aboard that boat. But as some of you know, if you've been watching the recent videos, the winds of change are blowing. We're about to switch things up a little bit. Make sure you guys subscribe, stick around, and stay tuned because we're gonna be boat shopping. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on as we speak. I'm filming it all, and I would love to have you along for the ride. With that being said, let's go ahead and get off into this list video. 5 things that I hate about my Skeeter 2010 ZX190 bass boat. Here we go. Number 1 on the list. The first thing that I dislike about the boat, it may come as no surprise. It might be obvious or it might not be. I'm not sure if this is an obvious one, but I'm gonna go ahead and say the deck size. It is a 19-foot boat that does make excellent use of the space that it has, but when I've got the front deck loaded up with setups, I'm trying to move around and get things done, stow and deploy the trolling motor, the shorter length up there on the front deck causes some issues. I'm always banging the trolling motor into the rod tips or almost knocking my rods off the edge of the boat sometimes when I'm getting into lockers. And really, I've just outgrown the deck of the boat, to be honest with you. I've got so many combos, and I sometimes end up throwing so many different setups while I'm out there on the water. Also, bringing other people aboard the boat is an issue. Less room, generally, only one person can comfortably, safely fish from the front of the boat. And if you have a partner with you, they're generally on the back. So that's the biggest thing, really, is the inhibiting space on that 19-foot boat. Not as much room up there on the front deck. It's not that big of a deal. I've made it work, but I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the list because it's just nice when you get out there and you have a couple more feet of room for those rods and to move around, for your buddy to fish, smack you in the back of the head with a crankbait. Shout outs to Ben Milliken. Speaking of Ben Milliken, if you guys wanna see me fish with the homie Ben, go down below right now, click the thumbs up on this video, and we might just be able to make that happen. But let's go ahead and move on to number 2. The second thing about the boat that I just can't stand, and this one I really do dislike. This one gets on my nerves a lot, and it's gonna be the rod straps, the bungees, the things that come out from the side of the boat to hold your rods in place when they're laying on the deck of the boat and you're underway. Those bungee straps that the Skeeters used to come with back in the day are horrible. I can't stand the things. They're always giving me trouble. They're hard to get lashed under the little loops that they have mounted to the deck. They're always catching onto my rods and trying to suck my rod back up into the bungee hole, and it's nothing worse when you get your rod shoved up your bungee hole. So oh my god. So anyways, so the bungees for the rods, the straps, the rod straps, whatever you want to call them, definitely a thorn in my side, a pain in my behind, and I can't stand using those things. I will be glad when they're gone and we no longer have to fiddle with those bungees. So that knocks out a couple items up towards the front of the boat. Let's go ahead and move on to that center, that middle section. And we're gonna go ahead and talk about the dual console. My boat, DC ZX190, has 2 consoles in it, and the third thing on the list of things that I hate about my Skeeter is that second console. Second console can be great when I have wifey with me. If you have somebody trying to duck down behind the wind, riding along when you're ripping across, it's great to have that console for your passenger. But me personally, as you guys know, I fish alone a lot, and I just don't really need that thing. It takes up a lot of space. In single console boats that don't have that bulky piece of fiberglass and windshield mounted to them, you have so much more room to move around and do things while you're out there fishing. And unless you have a serious need for a dual console, it's just not necessary, should not be on the boat. And that is the third thing on the list of things that I hate about my Skeeter. I wish it was a single console. It's not. When I was bass boat shopping for the first time, I didn't even really think about how much space I would be losing with that second console in there. And I was also thinking that my wife would go out with me, wanted her to have a console, and it wasn't really an issue. But the more I rode in other boats that only had a single console and realized how much more room you had in the single style boats, I was just like, man, I wish this was a single. I fish alone. I'm flying solo a lot of the times. You guys know that. And it's just not a necessity. It's cool to have a little glove box kind of, but really not needed. That's the third thing. That second console, it's got to go. But let's go ahead and rip on. So now we're gonna go ahead and bump on to the rear of the boat, and we're gonna move on to number 4. The fourth thing that I hate about my Skeeter is gonna be the 2-cycle oil. Constantly having to purchase 2-cycle oil. As you guys probably are aware, with the 2-stroke outboard motor, you have your gas and oil that get mixed together, and the oil that's actually mixed into the fuel mixture is what lubricates your motor and keeps it from getting too hot. And these older Skeeters like to drink their oil. It's a good thing. If you weren't drinking oil, chances are your motor might be getting a little too hot. My boat seems to run great, never had an issue, but you do have to constantly stay on top of that 2-cycle oil. And if you find yourself in a position or in a situation where you don't have the oil in the reservoir, or if you don't have a backup jug at the house where you can fill it, you're in trouble. Your day is shot and you can't go fish. You have to have that 2-cycle oil in the tank, in the boat, at the ready, at all times. Otherwise, you risk catastrophic engine failure. It is an added expense, something that you have to continuously buy. It never ends in perpetuity. As long as you are owning, running, and fishing from the boat, you will have to purchase 2-cycle oil. You have to get into the back hatch of the boat, add fluids to the tank on a consistent basis, and it gets old. So that is why the 4th item on my list is the 2-stroke oil. That 2-stroke smoke, mixing gas and hauling bass. You know the deal. It's great maintenance wise. 2-cycle motors, a lot easier to maintain, but it definitely gets old. Not only having to make sure you have fuel in the boat, but also have your oil tank filled with 2-cycle oil every single trip. So that's number 4. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to number 5. And actually, I have more than 5 things here on this list. I'm gonna mention a couple little bonus things that get on my nerves about the boat. But the 5th and final official thing on the list, this is gonna have to do with the motor as well. And the 5th and final thing that I can't stand about my Skeeter is the noise. That bad boy is loud. When you are hammered down, ripping across the water, that 2-cycle motor just screams. A lot louder, they're not quite as fuel efficient, and man, when you're up and running, you can definitely hear that thing back there blowing and going. It does not sound quite as cool as some of the modern 4-strokes, although I am a fan of the 2-cycle engine noise. The bottom line on the boat is it's just loud compared to some of the more modern stuff out there. When you're ripping, you can hear it. It screams. I personally prefer the stealthiness of the more modern 4-cycle motors. So that is the 5th and final thing. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and include a couple bonus things on this list. There are 2 other things that I don't really like about the boat, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop them on you here just as a couple little additional items on the list, just so I can really break it down. Like I said, I'm nitpicking, so I'm gonna go ahead and nitpick. Another thing that I don't like about the boat is the way my helix is mounted. That ram mount, that ball and clamp system is absolutely horrible. It's cumbersome. It's always a struggle getting that thing on and off the boat. You have to sit there and tighten or loosen it for a long time before you can even get that mount over the ball head on that ram thing. And then once you have it mounted, getting it adjusted and positioned properly, and then getting it to not rotate or come unpositioned while you're running on the lake is always a struggle. Can't stand that ram mount, and that is one thing that absolutely will not be on my next boat. There's one more thing I want to talk about here. Like I said, just throwing in a couple bonuses, trying to nitpick and tell you guys a couple more things that I dislike about the boat. And if I had to add one more thing, I would say the fuel efficiency. Man, she drinks some gas. 175 2-cycle motor. There are twin 18-gallon fuel cells in the boat, 36 gallons total, but the way you fill it is a little awkward. Fill caps are on either side, located on the rear of the boat. They're a struggle to get open and closed. It's kind of a funny little latch system that you have to shove your finger up underneath the edge to get it to open. I'm always fiddling with it, fidgeting with it. And the way the doors on the fuel tanks are positioned on the boat makes it awkward at the gas pumps as well. You have to fill one side and then you have to stretch the gas hose over the outboard and put it in the other side. And you always have to, it's just goofy how they did the fuel doors on the boat. And it can be cumbersome at the pumps. Even though there's 36 gallons on board, she drinks it up like that. So if I had to put one more thing on the list, it's gonna be that fuel economy and then the positioning of those fuel doors. It's just awkward. The way the new boats are set up right there on the side, just like your truck, is the way to go. Best believe my next boat will not have the fuel doors on the back. And hopefully we'll get a little bit better fuel economy as well. But that's gonna go ahead and round out this list of things that I dislike about my Skeeter. You guys saw recently we did a video with the wife where we went out and fished off the Skeeter for the last time. I don't know that you guys will ever see me out there aboard Beetlejuice again. I have one more ride to take, and that is the test ride with the new owner. They will be here soon to pick up the boat, and then she's gone forever. So say your goodbyes. If you guys enjoyed this little bit different style video, me breaking down my thoughts on the Skeeter, talking about the things that I don't like about my current bass boat, make sure you give me a thumbs up, maybe share this video with some of your fishing friends. If they're considering buying a 19-foot Skeeter, or if you're in the market for an older Skeeter, you can go back and watch the 5 things that I love about my 2010 ZX190. Maybe that will help you make your decision on which boat you go with, and you can decide if the nitpicking items that I've listed in this video are an issue for you or not. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps out some of you out there when it comes to learning more about these bass boats. But I think this will be the end of the list videos, and we will be back to doing our normal fishing and unboxing fishing gear content here on the channel. So if that's the kind of content you're into and you enjoy here on the channel, make sure you stay tuned. Like I mentioned, some exciting stuff is in the works. I've got some collaborations that I know you guys are gonna enjoy, one of which I hinted at earlier here in this video, and I can't wait to bring you guys along for the ride. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video, but that's about all I got for you. That about does it. That about wraps her on up. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.